The Event, a science fiction thriller series by Melanie Ann Phillips. Episode 10, Additive and Subtractive. Knowing when the tragedy would strike at least provided a time frame, though there was as of yet no idea how one should prepare for it when it came, or to respond to it once it had passed. To that end, before the conference began, a number of task force teams had already been charged with gathering and assessing information about the event and its aftermath from a multitude of sources including satellites, aircraft, eyewitness accounts, broadcast reports, social media anecdotes, and speculations, in the hope of crowdsourcing unexpected insights. Anything of note was immediately passed on to supervisors, who, in turn, reported to an interdisciplinary committee whose individual members were charged with overseeing a variety of topical areas. When there were sufficient data to indicate a trend, scenario, or conclusion in a particular topic, the expert heading up that subject would report directly to the Event Network Conference as a whole. It was hoped that this framework would enable insights from multiple disciplines to result in synthesis-derived understandings and coordinated courses of action. To understand how the system functioned, consider this example. Of the 700 Earth observation satellites remaining in orbit, more than 300 provided optical information. These data were being pored over by a team of several hundred analysts drawn from both government and private sectors that normally focused on aerial reconnaissance. Just one single data point, drawn from before and after imagery of Bordeaux, was ultimately tied in with information from the eyewitness team and the anecdotal group that synthesized a startling and unexpected attribute of the event's selectivity. Bordeaux, known as the Sleeping Beauty of Europe for its peaceful elegance, crowned this glory with the Miroir des Yeux, or water mirror, built in 2006 across the Place de la Bourse between Quai de l'Édon and Quai Louis XVIII. It became the largest reflecting pool in the world, offering 3,450 square meters of polished, water-covered rectangular granite slabs. Beneath the slabs was a complex system of pipes, drains, nozzles, electronics, and an 800 cubic meter reservoir. The pool had 3 phases: flowing water at a depth of approximately 2 centimeters, still water that creates a perfect reflection, and fog produced by a series of submerged nozzles across the entire display. Visitors were encouraged to walk across the pool and enjoy its shifting moods. Just prior to the event's arrival, crowds had been enjoying a leisurely day at the water mirror. Just after, the Place de la Bourse had vanished, as had all the roads in and around it. Naked people were scattered about as previously described. But, in spite of having been cut and polished by modern machinery, the granite slabs remained in their original form, though many of them were broken by their fall when the underlying scaffolding and support mechanism had ceased to be. This anomalous information was made available to the interdisciplinary committee, where it was matched by this anecdotal account gathered by another team. It was reported, second or third hand in radio conversations between rescuers, that the cut crown jewels had been recovered by one of the royal guards at the Tower of London, who had found them undamaged, gathered them in an untanned hide from a vanished display case featuring relics from Britain's earliest inhabitants, and run the 10 kilometers to the safe zone to present them to authorities. The expectation was that he would lose his feet from the damage done. Initially, it was suspected that items with polished surfaces might survive, which, though inexplicable, made as much sense as anything else. The social media team, however, provided several posts of eyewitness accounts of sculptured stone statues in London, such as the Crystal Palace dinosaurs, that remained unscathed after the event had passed. The dinosaur sculptures were unveiled in 1854, when the Crystal Palace, a precursor to the World's Fair concept, was moved from its original home in Hyde Park in 1852. Conversely, it was reported by other posters that the famous bronze lions beneath Nelson's column in Trafalgar Square had vanished completely. The novel conclusion of the interdisciplinary committee, after several intense minutes of deliberation, was that the event differentiated between items created by subtractive means, regardless of what was used to remove the material, iron tools in the case of the sculptures and machine cutters and polishers for the Bordeaux slabs, and those items made by additive effort, such as bundling or cobbling things together as parts of something more complex. The hypothesis was sent back to aerial reconnaissance, where it was confirmed by Landsat pictures that both Stonehenge and Hadrian's Wall were still standing. The conclusion was quickly passed on to the Information Preservation Working Group that was tasked with the creation of records that would survive the event and containing as much of human knowledge, history, and culture as possible. There, the task force immediately put together action plans for machinery that could be used to etch carvings into stone to hold our most important scientific and practical information, the great written works, and even relief images of scenes and diagrams that would be crucial to rebuilding a post-event world. The event testing group set about etching a variety of materials suspected of being able to withstand erasure and thrusting them into the event zone. Carved stone retained its information, as did scrapings into an untanned hide, like the one the guard had used to carry the crown jewels. However, tanned hides vanished. Carvings in untreated wood remained, but if the wood was pressure-treated, kiln-dried, or preserved in any way, both it and the information emblazoned upon it ceased to be. Different etching methods were tried as well. Chiseling, scratching, and burning worked, but any additive media, such as ink and paint, disappeared. Clearly, even on items that would not be erased, anything manufactured or prepared that was placed upon them would. One technologically minded experimenter etched cut stones with a laser, which is an ablative process, and therefore subtractive. When passed into the event zone, both the etching and the etched item remained, providing the first practical means of rapid transfer of data digitally to the surface of cut and polished stones. All of these results and many others were continuously forwarded to the chain back to the interdisciplinary committee by growing numbers of dedicated workers choosing to be away from their loved ones for these remaining few hours in the belief that what they did in that little time might very well be the best way to protect those most dear to their hearts. The world population as a whole, however, was not so altruistically minded. Read the entire event series in paperback, audiobook, or for your Kindle on Amazon at the link in the video description below. Your narrator is Don Warrick. The event series is written and copyrighted by Melanie Ann Phillips.